This is Darryl, Louisiana Simple Living, where we focus on a bountiful harvest, delicious food, and a healthy life. Although we're slap dab in the middle of winter, now is the time to go ahead and start planting our spring garden. It's right around the corner. I'm going to walk you through my checklist as I go through everything I need to have in place for my spring garden. Well, let's get started. Alright, the first checklist item, number one, is we got to take care of our existing raised beds. So if you got any old plants that are still out in your raised beds, we need to go ahead and remove them. And this is stuff maybe from spring, summer, or even fall. But anyhow, so we got to go ahead and clear the way, get those plants out of your raised beds. Alright, as you remove these old plants, if they were diseased or had some real bad pest infestation, don't go throw it into your compost bin. Go ahead and go throw them away, because we need to go ahead and amend the soil. Each season, or at least annually, you need to make sure you put more nutrients back into the soil. And so what I follow, and I'm a 100% believer in, and you take a look at my garden, my garden's pretty bountiful. I use something called Mel's Mix. This is square foot gardening. That's 1/3 Spangham peat moss, 1/3 vermiculite, perlite. You can use vermiculite's hard to find right now. It's ever since COVID. I don't know why. And then the final third part is a mixture of 3 to 5 different types of compost. And I get my compost from Clegg's Nursery. They got the cow and chicken manure compost. There's a mushroom compost. And then I have some of my own compost in a tumbler that I add in as well every spring. And I'll put a link down below for the Square Foot Garden book. It's actually quite a good read. That's what got me started in raised beds 11, 12 years ago. But I'll put a link down below for that. I'll put a link down below on a video that'll show you how I go about amending my soil. But I do take those components I just described, Mel's Mix. I use some azomite rock dust for some micronutrients as well. And then I take my fork and I basically just work it into the top 6-8 inches of the soil. Mix that in, and some say you can just put that compost on the top, just top dress it. I like to mix it in a little bit because And now the first checklist item kind of covered your existing raised beds. If you don't have a raised bed or you need to build a new one, that's another item on your checklist you need to go ahead and take care of, obviously, before you're ready to plant in the spring. The way I typically go about it, and I do have a video on building it, but I'll put a link down below. You want to make sure you make your beds 4 foot wide, no more than 4 foot, because you want to be able to reach into the middle. So you could do, like, the length can be anything you want. I got like 4 4x5 beds. I got 3 12x4 beds, and I got 2 16x4 beds. Just the way it worked out, the way my backyard is here. But you can take your choice. So you can use regular lumber, or you can get the treated lumber, which is what I use. And so the chemicals that they use in treated lumber these days is not as bad as it used to be. It used to have arsenic, all kind of stuff that could leach out. It's just not the case anymore. So I'm okay with using treated lumber. It's just going to make it last longer. It's not something you have to do every year. It's expensive. Obviously, going to buy lumber is expensive anywhere you go. Nevertheless, I double dig. So what that means is, from the soil level, I'll dig down with a shovel. I put my raised bed up, and then I go in with my Mel's Mix. And you can't, I don't know any place you can buy Mel's Mix, but I go in and basically mix it all up together on a tarp and then transfer it into the raised bed. So again, you got about a foot down where you've broken up the ground underneath the ground, and then you put this over the top, Mel's Mix over the top. Works great. Alright, well, now that we have our existing beds taken care of, our new beds, we've gone ahead and are looking at putting those in. Next step is you got to kind of look at, when is your regions, or what is your backyard's last frost date going to occur. And so what I mean by that is, you take my area zip code here in Louisiana around March 15th. It's a 30% probability that we will have a frost at that point, or afterwards, a lower probability. Nevertheless, what that means is, if we put our plants out, our tomatoes, our peppers, and all that as little bitty transplants, and it freezes, it's going to kill those new transplants we have out in the garden. So what you want to do is, from where you're at, in that one with a reasonable amount of probability that you won't get another frost, so I'm going to say March 15th, you back up 6 to 8 weeks. And I'm talking about for tomatoes, for peppers, for eggplants, things like that, the plants that take a long time to mature. We back up 6 to 8 weeks, then we can go and start sowing some seeds inside, and in 6 or 8 weeks, around 3/15, March 15th, then we can take those transplants, of course harden them, which means you kind of get them used to the weather outside over a period of a week or so, and then you transplant it out here in the garden. That's why it's important to figure out when your last frost date is. You can back up and figure out when's the optimum time to go ahead and sow seeds inside. And you try to figure that date out. You basically go online. You can go to the Old Farmer's Almanac, go to that, and it'll show you last frost date. You just plug in your zip code, and it triggers and tells you when your last frost date should be with the level of probability along with it. If you find this information valuable, hey, please go over there and subscribe and like the video, and feel free to share it. Now let's get back to the checklist. All right, so we just got through talking about when your last frost will occur. So we can back up from that point 6 to 8 weeks. We know we can start sowing inside. So the next checklist item is, let's take a look at our seed sowing supplies. All right, so within our seed sowing supplies, you got to have your seed trays. And if you see inside of here, I have what's called a wicking cloth. And it just basically, when I put water in, I can put it on the sides or in the middle where I want. And I know that water is going to just transfer all over. So wicking cloth is pretty cool to have. I will put links for all this down below if you need to get some of these materials. So again, trays. You can get a heck of a lot in one of these trays. And of course, make sure you got the top that'll sit on it. It doesn't have to sit on there perfect. Like this is from an old Jiffy seed starting kit. It doesn't fit this tray exactly right, but it does keep the moisture in. That's what you're wanting that top to do, and keep the kind of warmth and moisture in while those seedlings, or while the seeds are germinating, while the seedlings are coming up. So make sure you got some covers. And another item is the soil block tool. So this is a really cool tool. If you take a look at it, it basically has these little dimples. So I'll take my soil, pack it in like this, and then you get a little spring action, and it pushes the soil blocks out into the trays. You can buy those compressed cocoa core that you gotta wet and it expands. I'm just not a big fan of those. I've used them in the past. I prefer soil block, and I use Espoma premium soil starter mix to make sure I got everything in my favor when I go to sow seeds. This is the mix that I use. You can use any mix, I guess. It's just one that I found on Amazon that I can order, and it comes in and it does an excellent job as a seed starter premium potting mix. Alright, this is a water bottle I use. It's got a little neck. You can kind of get a good little directional stream. Now I went ahead and pulled this. This is one of the grow lamps I use. This was the first one I bought, and it's not real long. You can put basically one, maybe two trays at the most, perpendicular to the light. Nevertheless, I got one that's a four banker, so I can put 4 of those trays perpendicular to the light. So that's what I use. Alright, so this is the heating pad that I use. You can basically see it. I'm not going to take it out, but it's basically a heating pad that lays on the table. You put your seed tray on top of this, and it keeps it warm from the bottom up. Again, it helps germination. You keep your soil moist, but you also have warmth coming from underneath, and then the grow light helps your seedlings as they come up. And going along with the heating pad and the grow light, I basically allow those to be on a timer, just a cheap timer here from Sun. They got some good stuff. Most of my heating pads are Sun. Pretty good brand. Finally is on labeling of plants. Within the seed trays, I'm definitely I use these bamboo. It's just more sustainable. There's a permanent marker, which it ain't permanent. If you keep getting it wet for 8 weeks while you got it in your seed tray, you probably can't hardly see what it is. Nevertheless, that's probably as good as they get, or maybe put a label on here. I'm thinking about that. Then out in the garden, I'm going to start using these instead of these, because I just, after 6 weeks or something out in the weather, you can't tell what this is. You can't tell what the species is. So I'm going to end up using either labels on this or this wax crayon that supposedly lasts till you wipe it off. We'll see. And if you got any good ideas, a system that works well for labeling your plants out in the environment, hey, shoot a description down below and share that with everybody. And I'll put links down for the items. We just kind of went through all the seed starting, seed sowing trays and all that. I'll put a link down below. So we got our existing beds taken care of. We got some new beds we're going to go ahead and build, put some of that Mel's Mix in it. We now got the seed sowing supplies. We just went through that. We also went through the topic about when is your last frost date going to occur. So next up is really kind of deciding what you want to plant, how many can you plant. Do you have a single 4x5 bed? Do you have a couple of beds? Do you have unlimited range? Do you have containers even? Nevertheless, at this point is when you kind of got to decide based on the spacing for each type of plant. What kind of good soil do you have? Mel's Mix will allow you maybe to get away with a little bit tighter, more of a square foot type of gardening arrangement. Less soil, you won't be able to get a whole heck of a lot of a bountiful harvest just being a foot apart between tomatoes, peppers, those kind of things. So try to space them out wider if you can. If you can't, use the right soil, take care of your plants, and they'll do fine for you. And of course, if you're sowing seeds inside, this tells you how many trays you're going to need, how much soil you're going to need. Use your soil block, make all your soil blocks, sow your seeds, get your grow light going. But yeah, once we decide what we need to do, we can go ahead and sow our seeds inside. Again, in my case, mid to late January. And that just provides a little insurance in case you don't get the germination you're expecting to have. Of course, when you're looking at what you're going to sow, pull out your all your seeds, maybe in a cardboard box. Man, I got a seed organizer. I'll show you on a link down below. But look at the date on it. If you're more than a year or so, especially smaller seeds, chances are your germination rate's not going to be that great. Overseed for sure. Consider getting some additional seeds. And remember, as you're looking at what you want to plant, what seeds you want to get, look at variety. Variety is the absolute fun part of gardening, or one of the main fun parts of gardening that I enjoy. I plant something I've never planted before every season that I go. And I order seeds from 3 stores primarily, one being seedsnow.com. That's a fairly new company, but I've checked them out. I've vetted them. So far, seeds are really good. They germinate well. Actually, there's a monthly subscription you can do. So, you know, for the one I got, I think it's 5 different types of seeds that come out monthly. Then there's some mystery seeds, and you can pick how many. I think I got 2 or 3 that come out monthly that are mystery seeds, not something I've asked for. And they check what your plant hardness zone is, so they can kind of send you the right stuff. So anyhow, it's pretty cool. Check them out. And they got a bunch of free stuff too, based on what you buy. And I know rareseeds.com is another good one. Heirloom seeds. Seeds Now is heirloom seeds. And then seedsavers.org, those are heirloom seeds. Depending on how much you order, you know, you sometimes get free shipping from whatever. Rare Seeds, you get free packets of seeds. They slip in at a certain level you buy it. All 3 are great. The Seeds Now, just being transparent, I am an affiliate partner of them. But actually I vetted them. I hadn't ever talked about them before. I've been using them for about 6 months, and they do a pretty good job. So consider any one of those 3. Rare Seeds has a heck of a variety from all over the world. So check out those 3, and there's others that are good, don't get me wrong. Those are just the 3 I primarily use. And one other thing to think about if you're getting ready to get your spring garden going, one of the best things you could ever do for your garden is to get an automated watering system. I have one here. It's such a relief to not have to stress over, I got to get home, it's the middle of summer, I got to water my plants. Because I know it's going to be watered every single morning. I think it's 6 a.m. or 6:30, I don't remember. But my plants are going to be watered, the ones in the raised bed, every single morning. I did a video on putting in an automated watering system. I'll put a link down below if you want to look at that too. But really think about having that. It really relieves the stress. of having to go water every day. Don't get me wrong, I like to go and check my plants every single day. But I know if I have to work late, whatever the case may be, they're going to get watered. So it's not a problem. Finally, we need to take an inventory, take a look at all of our garden tools, and make sure everything we got's in good working order. And of course, one of your garden tools you can't live without is your good old sprayers, pump up sprayers. So I got a 2-gallon and a 1-gallon here. I use both. I'll mix up neem oil with some BT and use that to apply it where I need to apply it. And these are also good just to have around the house anyhow. And of course, a good old wheelbarrow. This one's all plastic, works really good. You want to have one of them around. A couple things over here. Now here, you got to make sure you got some good pruners. These are rusting. I've left it out. May have to get some new ones, but you really need to have. They're indispensable. This is one of the forks. If you see me, if you check the video out while I'm mending the sole, this is what I use. Very, very helpful. And of course, good old tomato cages. They do get expensive. I got quite a lot of them. But you can also use these fiberglass stakes. They work pretty good. I got them all over the garden. Now, trellises is one thing. So you got this here. Let me back up so you can see. So this is a 16-foot cattle panel. Get down at the farm and tractor supply, and all you gotta do is basically, if you set up two your raised beds, you just fold it over or make an arch with it, and you got a trellis. So I have a couple of stakes down there. What I'll do is this season I put it there. Every year I'll move them around. I got 2 of them. Every year I move them around, so I'm not kind of growing the same stuff in the same area. But these work really well. We got another trellis back here. And then I have some, these were cattle panels that I cut up that you got for growing things vertically right there. And finally, some organic fertilizer, like this is 332. This is another one from Bloom City that I use when I'm trying to get my roots, when I transplant the plants out here in the garden from inside. I use this, so it's a root stimulator. I almost forgot this one. This is the Neptune's Harvest organic fertilizer. It's made from fish and seaweed, but this works really well. It's organic, and it does a good job giving nutrients to your plants. And on the pesticide side of the business, Monterey BT is the bacteria that basically goes and kills the worms within 2 to 3 days. And neem oil, just a good general organic pesticide. This is just some of the other garden tools and supplies you need to be successful out in your backyard garden. So I'll put a link down below if you need to pick any of that up or not. I get a very, very, very small percentage of what's spent over on Amazon at no additional cost to you. Hey, and also check out my shirts in the store on the channel. So got a number of different garden t-shirts, great Christmas gifts. Go check those out. All right, we covered all the checklist items. Make sure you take that checklist, review it in your garden, take a look at all the stuff you got, the materials, tools you may need, and let's get your spring garden going. That's one of my goals, is to get another 1,000 of you new beginner gardeners to get started this coming spring. Hey, and if you like the content, I focus on raised bed gardens, backyard type of gardening. Excellent material. If you like it, subscribe, like the video, and feel free to share it. Make memories now, not later. Make memories with family and friends. And as always, I will see you on the next video.